Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about dreams and entities and the plant medicine path. So I just had a really strong dream last night, which my first reaction was that, oh, it's an entity attack. And this is something that has come to me. This is like a narrative or an explanation or a justification that I've met many times along my path with the plant medicines. And I also, a lot of people reach out to me every once in a while to ask about, like what does it mean when you have this kind of sleep paralysis or yeah, have these entity attacks in our dreams. So I just want to take a moment and share a little bit about the reflections that came up for me today based on, I've been reflecting on this topic for many years. And I personally, I want to say right up front here in the beginning that there are many different ways of interpreting the world around us and our experiences in life and in this world on the medicine path. And they come from different cultural contexts, stories. We have the scientific framework that is being fed to us as well. And I think all these stories and these narratives and explanations and judgments are, I don't know why I used the word judgments, but it just came. Anyway, I guess it's the mind's way of like trying to understand and navigate and protect us as we move through this life in this world. So what I want to just like say up front that what I'm sharing and what I'm speaking about is like a reflection of the my experience and what I've understood, and your background is going to be unique and different, and so please just make sure to just receive the ideas kind of that resonate for you and allow them to be food for thought rather than taking these things that I talk about as a kind of like fact or a statement. So I think, for myself personally, when I started stepping onto the plant medicine path, this world, this kind of like shamanic world, and this understanding of like this multidimensional nature of our universe uh, became more like available to me. Or I stepped into this kind of world, this multidimensional world. And I think a lot of people, as I understand it, the plant medicine, especially ayahuasca, is kind of like a medicine that opens a portal, it opens a gate so that we can connect to new levels of consciousness, awareness, and dimensions, and we become more aware to all the things that are happening. And also the plant medicines, they if our intention is to work on healing ourselves, to get rid of like old conditioning and these kind of trauma imprints, then the process will set into motion all kinds of yeah, it will loosen the grip of the old stories and start to kind of move things. And in that process, a lot of this processing happens when we're sleeping and dreaming, because during our day-to-day daytime waking time, our mind, our rational cognitive mind, is very like kind of dominant, and there's not so much space for processing. And really, I understand that the dream space, nighttime, is kind of a space where our subconscious and our soul kind of gets to process, and we can get rid of some of that old, old narratives and conditioning, or maybe, yeah. There are lots of videos out there about dreams, and I'm not an expert on that, even though I have been curious and interested and done my share of studying and practice with this. But one thing that I have noticed is that it's, because our Western society and world is so very, like, gives so much, I guess, focus and kind of emphasizes and places maybe more importance or trust on the cognitive kind of mental side. So our kind of mind has got really like inflated. Our egos have become very inflated and want to know and want to control and understand. So it's very easy for our mind, because of this kind of conditioning, to try to like operate in a way that it tries to understand and make meaning of everything. But the more I walk along my path, and become aware of like this, how multi-dimensional this world is and how many stories and narratives exist at the same time in this reality, that really the stories and the narratives, they can be totally different from one moment to another. And actually getting like really fixated or stuck into the stories is, can keep us like looping in those stories rather than actually supporting our transformation and our movement forward, our evolution. And especially like if we are entering the work with the plant medicines to try to like let go of past conditioning and to find new ways of being and healing, then it really is important to like make space for new stories, new meaning, but also and that happens by not being fixated and obsessed with the past. And so, and one of these things that like I tend to see like myself, like, when one has a strong dream, there is this desire, there's a will to start analyzing it and understand what happens, and start to create blame, like, oh, that thing was so uncomfortable, where did it come from, who is it, like, for example, in the case of my dream last night, it was with a previous partner of mine. And it's so easy to like then kind of start projecting like blame that this other person or the situation or something is causing my discomfort. And in that process, when we blame someone, we're actually giving our power away. We're not like kind of owning our process or our kind of sovereignty and choice. And what I've noticed is like that for example, in the dream last night, I had the situation where I became paralyzed and I couldn't speak, I couldn't shout out for help. And in the spiritual medicine circles, I've heard a lot of people talking about that, oh, it was an entity took over, and when you're possessed, you get totally paralyzed. And I understand that since I use nervous system, I've been studying a lot about like how the nervous system works in the last few years, and the science kind of the scientific understanding of how our physical body works. And I realized that what feels like an entity possession could very well be also like a nervous system response of like collapse, paralysis, fear, when we are faced with a certain like situation in a dream. And I have noticed also in some dreams in the past that this happens often when I dream about something that is associated with something that I feel shame about. Like in the past, I remember that these came up in dreams where there was like maybe sex involved or cannabis, things that like by our society have been blamed or judged as being bad or not good. And this like, for me, this is a really interesting perspective to kind of look at these dreams and these entity situations as maybe it's actually our body, our mind, our psyche, our kind of processing things that old conditioning, old imprints, old patterns, and it responds to them in a certain way. And that's why we get into those situations where we feel powerless. And but what if actually those dreams are an opportunity where we could be releasing we might be processing and releasing like old stories, old kind of relationship patterns, and like that I think is really interesting and inspiring and supportive of our path and our journey. So for example, I had a dream also excuse me, when I was doing dieta with the Huniquin people in Boa Vista. And in my first night of my dieta, I had this dream where like this, something that looked like a gremlin, like monster just like crawled out of my body and like out of my arm onto my shoulder. And I was really like shocked and scared and all of that. But I was like, my first idea was that, okay, now I've been like attacked by an entity. But I was actually then told by my shaman, who is holding space for me and guiding my journey, that it was actually something that was leaving my body. So obviously, when we have this kind of a process where we might have these either trauma imprints or like these kind of energetic imprints, entities could be like, where someone judged us, spoke to us harshly, projected their unprocessed emotions onto us, and if we took that in, that could be like an entity we could be carrying that energy that could be stuck in us, and maybe we've been like holding on to that and protecting it, and then when the time is right, when we ask for the help from the medicines, the spirits, to kind of like heal and release, then maybe that stuff is like starting to come out, and it shows up in scary and frightening ways, and it's actually when letting go and release and all of that, it can be super uncomfortable, like if you just think about uh, yeah any kind of process, like getting a tooth pulled out, a rotten tooth pulled out, or getting surgery, or giving birth, or any kind of this kind of like transformational process when you're releasing something, whether it's something that you're releasing something old that doesn't serve you, or giving birth to something new. It's like an energetic restructuring, it's a physical restructuring, and you need to like, it can be like really messy and uncomfortable and all of that. But maybe if we could reframe the narrative and the story, so that instead of blaming the world around us and the medicines and the people and the for causing our discomfort, maybe what's actually happening is kind of that we are releasing something, and that's why it feels uncomfortable. And maybe what we need to do is actually create more space for holding space for that transformation, and instead of projecting the blame outwards, which is actually projecting or like continuing and perpetuating this kind of war that we see in the world at the moment. There's so much judgment and blame going on. So I want to invite you, like if you're on the medicine path or having these dreams where you feel like you're being attacked by entities, could it be that actually instead of you being attacked, that it might be actually something that is being released from you? And what do you think might happen if you actually like reframed your story and started to focus more on like holding space for yourself and supporting yourself through this kind of transformation process? Like that's been a big that's one thing that has been like a huge shift for me in my own integration journey with the plant medicine, is like learning how to like hold space for myself, how to soothe my nervous system, how to be present for myself. And it's a practice, it takes a while, it's a journey, and but that's something that I'm really focusing on in my own personal journey and in the teachings that I will be sharing more about in the future. So if this somehow might resonate for you, uh, stay tuned. Let's stay connected and let's see what more insights kind of come up. And please share your insights in the comments as well if you get any. I'd love to hear them. So if this kind of perspective or approach to working with dreams and energies and in a more sovereign and empowered way resonates for you, and you want to journey and explore the subject deeper, consider subscribing to this channel. Maybe join my mailing list. You'll find the link in the description below. And also you might be curious to explore the offerings that I will be coming out with sometime in the near future. If you're interested in that, you can join the wait list. That's also linked to in the description section. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you received something supportive here in this video, and I look forward to continuing this this magical, mysterious journey together with you. Catch you later. Bye.